we'll have both speakers stand and you can ask your question and let me know who it's for. That sound good?
I just have a question about, I did get my voter book, but there's nothing in here about the propositions.
No, that's for the primary.
Okay,
You'll get it for the general.
okay,
Your guide is for the primary.
okay,
Yes.
so when is the general election?
November 6th,
Okay.
and then the early ballot, or the ballots will be sent out the first week in October.
And your proposition number is what?
We don't have it yet, because
Oh.
it hasn't been cleared
Okay,
completely.
I see. And
Same with ours.
okay,
We don't have a number yet. The only one that has a number is 305.
and 305.
It's a no on 305.
Is the no.
It's the
and
voucher, no on
That's
vouchers.
the voucher program.
No on
Okay,
vouchers.
because you know, sometimes how they write these things,
do.
it's,
Right.
I do.
it's hard to figure out what it really says.
The question was, what were the number? For instance, 305 deals with the voucher. So what is the ballot number question on the ballot? Are we gonna be 306, 7, or 8? Because we have not gone through the legal hurdles yet, we don't have a number assigned to us yet. So once the courts approve that we have enough signatures and we go through all of that, then the Secretary of State will assign a number and we will say, vote yes on whatever. Yes.
And then it's not on this ballot.
It is not on the primary ballot because you have, the general election is November 6th.
Is there another primary ballot for, you know, everything else like governor and
Yes.
Senate? Oh, there will be a primary on that.
And
Yes.
that is August 28th.
And the booklets
Coming
just
up.
went out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a state.
That's the primary.
Okay, so please raise your hands if you have a question. Mark, you had,
It's not really a question, just a little bit more information on the Red for Ed. If you have something to write with, this would be really good. Not only do we need to be in concert for the Red for Ed, if you take a look at the Arizona Auditor General website, azauditor.gov, that will give you information on every school district and how they spend their monies, okay? Your school districts are run by superintendents. I'm not sure in Arizona if they are elected or not. However, the school boards are elected, okay? We have a chance to vote for the school board people. In Saudita, down here, we rank on one of the highest administration costs in the state of Arizona. Our superintendent has 2 assistant superintendents. They run more than 50% of the administrative costs in salaries, okay? So not only do we have a Red for Ed issue here in Saudita, we have a cost issue at our school districts as well. I implore you to research, look this up, and when it comes to voting for people that are gonna be on the school board, and I don't remember if Mr. Valenzuela is elected or appointed.
he is not.
He's not elected.
So he's appointed by the school board, so we have a chance to get people in the school board who are fiscally responsible and ask them questions. And go to azauditor.gov, and you'll see that information on how much money this school district spends on administration costs instead of rooms that are leaking, that have floods in them right now. I'm telling you the truth because my wife works there. And these are very, very, very old buildings. They're building a new school, but they're not maintaining the old buildings. But the administrators are making, I can tell you Valenzuela makes up close to $150,000 a year. That's public information.
Thank you, Mark.
I just want to make a comment, which I should have said in my information. The Invest in Ed Act will provide $690 million to schools. 60% of that money has to be spent on teacher salaries. And that is significant, because that means they can't touch that. They have to spend it on teacher salaries. The other 40% is to spend on support personnel, as well as facilities to provide all-day K, which right now we only fund it at half-day K. Schools that have all-day K, they pay the other amount. And so I should have said that in my spiel.
Yes, Matthew.
Yeah, Tom, how is it that a coal company ended up being an energy company?
The question is, how did a coal company become an energy company?
What example are you?
I'm talking about the Pinnacle West is a coal company, and they own APS.
That's true.
Pinnacle West owns two companies. I'm sorry, Pinnacle West owns two companies. They just opened a subsidiary for transmission lines. There's politics in that. And then they own Arizona Public Service. Arizona Public Service has plants that generate electricity, Joseph City, outside of St. John's, I believe. And of course, they have a share of Four Corners. They don't, I don't think they have an investment in Page. But they're transforming, they're converting coal-fired plants to natural gas. They're gonna build a brand new natural gas facility in Tempe and close down portions of the Four Corners. So they're really not a coal company. They buy coal, I think, from the Navajo Nation primarily. So anyhow, so I hope I answered that.
Kind of.
I thought I'd heard that they were a coal company before they bought APS.
APS was a municipal private company serving Phoenix in, God, 1492. I mean, like late 1890s or something like that. It wasn't called Arizona Public Service, it was called something else, but it emerged and acquired other companies. APS serves the Grand Canyon, Cameron, Arizona, Snowflake, all the way down to Douglas, in small franchise areas, and portions of Phoenix, all of that.
Yes, Ruth.
Can you explain, you were saying that APS said that electric bills will go up by some huge amount, and you're saying, no, they won't, they'll go down. Can you explain why this initiative is likely to make electric bills go down?
Let me just, by the way, TEP rate case and APS's were identical. And the test case to see whether or not the Corporation Commission would model future decisions on the rate case that they eventually got started with Unisource here in Santa Cruz County and Mojave County. Do you remember getting a thing in your bill saying you got 3 ways to get charged for your electricity? Did you? You have this option, that option, the other? You did. Yeah, and did it make sense? No. All right. And the thing said you're gonna save money if you chose the right one? Have you saved any money? In the APS case, you got me going here. In the APS case, RUCO, who's the residential advocate for residential users, statutory, appointed by Ducey, said about the APS rate case, APS should give $20 million back to the ratepayers. The staff at the commission said APS shouldn't give money back, but it should lower its rates. The Corporation Commission gave APS a $95 million increase. Now, when we talk about solar, so just think, if there's a power plant in the Four Corners, that electricity generated there has to be sent here, doesn't it? If you have solar on your home, you send it to your next door neighbor. If you make a partner with your customer, they made the investment on their solar. You didn't have to build a plant someplace else. You didn't have to transport it somewhere else. The partnership is with the homeowner, and the goal, of course, for the homeowner is financial. Now, look, we may be interested in contributing to the cause of lowering global warming, right? And make, as environmentalists, if that's your passion, you may want to make that investment. But for most people, it's to lower your bill. You weatherize your home, lower your bill. A long-term investment. That's what most people do. It will work if the Corporation Commission establishes rates that treats you as a customer fairly and not as a shareholder for APS.
Tom, that's the point that I'd like to make. Isn't there a hierarchy from the Corporation Commission that they guarantee the utilities a certain
Rate of return.
Rate of return, which is.
By rule.
By law, by rule, by 10%. So our rates go up and down based on their expenses and revenues, which is our bills.
Right.
So they are guaranteed, you guys, this 10%, and it works off of that. Our rates are working off of that 10%.
So wouldn't you like to get 10% on your money at the bank, huh?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how's that? So to go back, what the staff recommended to the commission, lower the rates because their profits are too high. We often get ourselves trapped into the language of the commission, which is that the Corporation Commission establishes our rates, regulates the rates. No, they regulate the profits.
Yes.
Because you are trapped.
That's why
You can't take the wires of your home and give it to Salt River Project that's leased. You are trapped.
That's why you have to vote Progressive Corporation Commission.
Right. So anyhow, yes, that kind of gives some background. You're right.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a question about the dark money initiative. I'm curious about the mechanism, given that there was a Supreme Court case whose name I don't remember that basically said that political contributions are free speech.
Citizens United.
So, thank you.
And in a decision, the question is, that since corporations can make, by the Citizens United decision by the Supreme Court, how can the state regulate, and the spending, if you will? There's one of the arguments submitted in favor of Citizens United came from Scalia, Anthony Scalia. And he said the remedy to stopping corruption is exposure of the donor. And that the state has every right, and Congress has every right, to compel donors to report what they spend. The other nice thing our initiative does is take away a lot of the responsibility for the elections, takes it away from the Secretary of State, and gives it to Clean Elections. Your voter guide came from Clean Elections.
Yeah.
They will not be. Our current dark money laws came from Michelle Reagan's office.
Yeah.
The language for those laws passed by the legislature, signed by Doug Ducey, was incubated in Michelle Reagan, our Secretary of State's office. So anyhow, so disclosure can be compelled, and that's what is constitutional. While it's constitutional, they say that corporations are persons, you can't draft them, right?
Can't put them in jail.
Can't put them in jail. Well, I'd like to put anyhow.
Any more questions? Yes.
What's the minimum on the amount that is, you have to disclose in the dark money bill?
Under Arizona law, no, the minimum, what would have to be disclosed has to follow Arizona law, and if memory
I'm
serves
trying to
me,
remember myself.
I think you can, anything over $25 has to be reported.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
As a candidate.
You're right, that's what I was gonna say.
So if I passed the hat around here and got 50 people to give me $50, I could just say, I don't have to identify you. But if you gave me $50, I have to report you. Report you.
That's the law now.
That's
Yes.
law.
She's
But
asking
the
for
exemption, the loophole is that if you are a 504C
See.
and you do educational things,
Yeah.
and half your money is spent on education to whatever, and half on ads, you report to the IRS once a year who your largest donor is.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only reporting there is. Whereas the dirty money initiative, if passed, you would have to follow what every candidate and independent expenditure, and believe me, as a candidate, and you've done probably IEs, right? You have to file a lot.
Yeah, it's very cumbersome, actually.
Yes.
So Trump's campaign coming into here, his groups have to qualify for that too? Or does it end at somebody running for state positions?
Under federal law, there's federal reporting requirements. Under Arizona law, there are federal or state reporting requirements. And again, they're pretty thorough. They really are.
Okay.
And pretty good.
We have time for one more question. I didn't mean to scare you. Any more questions? Okay, before we thank them for coming, I would like to remind you that on the 18th, we have Felicia Rodolini coming down to Green Valley. She's amazing. She's the head of the Arizona Democratic Party. She's gonna come down and talk to us and get us all prepared for the onslaught in November. She will be at CPAC from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Please come, bring your friends, bring your neighbors. It's gonna be a really great event. So, thank you, Tom, and
I'm gonna pass my sign-up sheet around.
oh, yes, and we also have a sign-up sheet, so before you leave, please sign in. Thank you very much.